What's up, metalheads? Welcome to the Scrap Metal Podcast, the show for the misfits who've been listening to the same music since high school. I'm your host, John von Frankenstein, and joining me today is my metal thrashing mad co-host, Chris. Chris, I gotta ask you, man, how you doing? I fucking did it! One fucking take! I'm sorry. Go ahead, you can now answer my question. This is years in the making. Years in the making, without me having to read the intro off of my notes, and without me having to do a second or third take.
What one note? It's how you feeling, not how you doing, because my bit always starts with "I feel something stupid." So to pick up from the bit, since I won't make you do your second take, I feel. I gotta say, I am feeling like I want your skull. I need your skull.
I put my mug away at the wrong time. Damn it. Chris, does this feeling of wanting someone's skull have anything to do with how you're keeping your heavy metal street cred and not why you're on some sort of watch list?
It might have something to do with my heavy metal street cred, and hopefully I'm not on any watch lists, because a few weeks ago, as of this recording, I watched the Coachella live stream where the original Misfits performed.
Yes,
and
yeah.
That was a lot of fun to watch. What was interesting is that Glenn Danzig and the band in general are kind of against being filmed while performing, so you really didn't get a lot of great shots of the band at all. Yeah. Like, there were some good shots, but like there were no close-ups of Glenn Danzig or Jerry or Doyle or anyone at all. But it was very cool to watch them perform live. I know I've talked about it before. I saw the original Misfits at Madison Square Garden a few years ago for a Halloween show. Yeah. Still one of the best concerts I've ever been to. A big part of that is because of how much I love the Misfits and never thought I'd see them perform live, at least not in this iteration. So it's so cool to see that show, and it's so cool to see that they're still playing together, and it was cool to see this live stream from Coachella. Like I said, it was weird that there was no close-ups like you would see with other bands, but still it was a lot of fun just, you know, hearing them perform live. And that was just really cool to watch them, you know, live stream. You know, I feel like not too long ago, I talked about watching a Gwar concert being live streamed. And so it was really cool seeing that the whole festival was being live streamed. So it was really cool to get to watch the Misfits perform at this festival.
I remember seeing a couple people posting it, like, they posted it on Instagram or TikTok and whatever. And I love that bands are a little bit more open to playing these larger festivals now. Yeah. Sure, for someone like the Misfits and someone like Glenn Danzig, I'm sure that some of the money had to do with it as well. But for the most part, what I love is that they are exposing new people to the music. Yeah. It's Speed, the Australian hardcore band that has a flute in one of their breakdowns that I love, have fallen in love with recently, also played Coachella. And like, I remember seeing a couple people posting and being like, check out this normie mosh pit. But it's like, you know what? These people have maybe never heard this style of music before, or have heard styles of music like it. And they're like, wow, this is way more intense. This is way heavier. This is way faster. I want to get into these guys now. And that will just start to open up doorways for people. You know, it's how many people that were at Coachella do you think actually knew who the Misfits were? And I don't ask that in like a gatekeeper type of way. I mean in a, how many people do you think have now been introduced to the Misfits?
Yeah, I mean, you know, watching the video, they were headlining the stage that they were on, but they weren't on the main stage. So I feel like there was a fair amount of people there that were there specifically for the Misfits. Obviously, there were a lot of Fiend Skulls in the crowd, but you're right. At a festival, especially at a festival, you are more likely to be playing to a greater number of people that have never heard of you before.
Right.
Maybe not necessarily if you are the headliner, at least the headliner of your stage, but there's definitely a possibility that people were there for the undercard of that stage. And they were like, well, fuck it, I'm seeing this band's logo all over the place. I've already got a cool spot right at the front. I might as well stick around and listen to this band. And I would like to hope that that does happen and that people get to hear, these songs being performed in a way that probably sounds better than they do recorded. But it's still really cool to get to, see the band perform live and see what they're all about. See Jerry only break 20 basses over his knee, see Doyle beating the shit out of his guitar, while AC Slade is actually playing the song, but it was just a lot of fun. And I hope people did get to see this band do some, fun stuff on stage, play some really cool songs, and be like, hey, I want to hear more from this band.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's shout out to AC Slade, who is like such a working man's musician and is out there like playing constantly. You know what I mean? Like out there just doing his thing and getting to do like these supporting roles and supporting spots with different bands and just like popping up and doing guest spots with people. Yeah. And I love when an artist gets to do a guest spot on another artist's song. And that's what we're talking about today. Our favorite guest spots. That's be it vocalists, musicians who guest spotted on someone else's song. We're talking about those spots where it's like you're now opening the door to more people and you're going, wow, I really appreciated that call out before the breakdown from that voice that I'm unfamiliar with. Let me check out the band that they're from now. Chris, are you excited to start talking about your very favorite guest spots?
I am so excited to talk about guest spots. There were a few examples that immediately came to mind, but it also kind of made me think of some of the music I was introduced to in high school. Because when I was in high school, I was doing a radio show where the co-host was introducing me to a lot of New York hardcore band, both classic bands and new bands. And there was a lot of crossover among those bands. There was a lot of, at live shows, the lead singer from one band jumping up on stage to sing a verse or do backing vocals or just to like act like a hype man on stage or, fill out the gang vocals even more. So I think this is a fun topic to discuss. That's vocally, but then like you said, there's also those times where a guest musician comes in. Maybe the band wants to either feature an artist who is up and coming, or they're like, hey, this artist is available, and attaching their name to this song might really help us out or would be just a really cool experience for us to have this artist in the studio or live on stage and kind of, perform with us.
Absolutely. It's a way, like you said, to sometimes it's those up and coming artists. Other times it's like the artists who have influenced them. Guesting on their song. And I love seeing that too, because you get so much support within heavy music for the up and coming generation. Yeah. As well as respect and reverence for what has come before and those influences that have come before. So for me, it was a moment to highlight some of those best sort of like hype man moments. Yeah. And also a way to just be like, if you haven't heard this before, go and check this out because it's a twofer. Yeah. You get the band proper and then whoever it is that's guesting on there. Yep. Like my first pick is the song Swan Song by Kublai Khan featuring Scott Vogel of the band Terror. Scott Vogel, I knew before I ever even heard Terror. I remember picking up a Revolver magazine and there was an article in there all about Vogelisms. Basically just like these really positive sayings that he would say mid-set, like little speeches that he would go into. And he's just known for kind of being like a really positive guy. I've brought Scott up before in our like Mosh Pits episode, and there's like the discussion of him being like, I hate the horseshoe. I hate that at a hardcore show, you've got the people who want to mosh, which I love. I want to see them moshing. But then you've got the horseshoe form around the mosh pit. And many times he'll be like, no, this show is for us to be together. You are sharing this stage. This stage is yours. We are not special. You come up here and you take this stage. But for that to happen, I need you guys to come up. You need to come up and you need to be with us. And it's like the article was just going into how positive of a person he was. So for him to guest on this song, which is off of Kublai Khan's EP, Lowest Form of Animal, which many of the all of the songs end with a sample that I'm pretty sure is from like Soft White Underbelly, where this guy like goes out and interviews, people who have been homeless, people who've been drug addicts, people have been in sex work and stuff like that, and trafficked, and all these manner of things that like don't normally get the opportunity to kind of speak for themselves, that people have a generalization of. So all of their songs end with a clip about that. And this song is about women in sex work and how you've got this strife that they've been through or trauma that they've been through in life that led them down this path. And it's being sung from the point of view of someone who says, I can't even do anything to help you. I can't even do anything except for shine a spotlight on the struggles that you're going through. Yeah. And that is most apparent in the intro, where Scott Vogel comes out with "For all the ladies working Iowa 80." And then just fucking Scott and now Matt Honeycutt, the singer of Kublai Khan, come in together, selling pussy to the chrome on the interstate. And it's like, oh, fuck. It's like right away, they've got your attention.
Yeah.
But what I love is that it's being sung from a positive light, from a positive point of view. Again, trying to be like, I know that I can't help you with this. I know that you had to go through this trauma on your own, but I see you and I hear you, and you are accepted by us and you're loved by us, and anything that we can do to help support you, even though we can't maybe change what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Let us give you a platform to speak on it. And their voices coming together and singing in that way where they're like trading off lines in this whole intro is phenomenal. This is what I love about guest spots, when it's not just like, hey, we need you to harmonize on this chorus for us.
Yeah.
Or, hey, take part in this gang vocal. It's trade off with me. And then they do it again in the like bridge outro section of the song. Scott again gets a whole other verse. When they play it live, Kublai Khan will normally bring up another vocalist, that's touring with them to do this. So I've never been fortunate enough to see Scott do this with them. I'm not sure if they have, but it's a great song. It's a phenomenal song. It's a really strong subject matter, and something that doesn't get highlighted enough or spoken about enough in a positive light. A lot of times the point of the song is pretty much like, we go through this life as outsiders, seeing these people who've had to go down this road as a means of survival, and we're sitting here judging. But instead of doing that, let's lift them up. They are our sisters, our daughters, our mothers. Let's just lift them up and give them a platform to speak on what their struggles are. So in a way, they're giving a guest spot to sex workers as well.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to get super meta. And I promise I'll get off of my soapbox. But yeah, that's what I love about guest spots. Chris, I don't know if your next choice is quite as heavy as that, like, in terms of subject matter. But what is your first favorite guest spot?
So a guest spot that I thought of, and yes, it is not as profound as yours, but one of the first I thought about is Traitor and their song Total Thrash, which features Angelripper of Sodom, fellow Teutonic Thrash. I guess we could call them legends. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, this was one of the first things I thought about because, Traitor, we've talked about them before. I've talked about I'm once again hitting the Metal Thrash and Chris greatest hits. I love my German thrash metal, and Traitor is a great example of some modern German thrash metal. And it's so great how with this song they're kind of honoring the past, the Teutonic Big Four, by having Angelripper from Sodom being on this song. I know at the same time there was the documentary about Teutonic Thrash coming out at the same time that this album and song were coming out. So it's just really cool to kind of have that. And so that was one of the songs that I immediately thought of because it was combining the modern with the old school. Like we were saying, it was a band featuring someone that has clearly been a huge influence on them, you know, being a German thrash metal band and featuring one of the greats from one of the greatest German thrash metal bands. And so it was really cool to hear that when I first listened to the album, you know, because it's a great album, and just getting to hear this song and seeing Angelripper, you know, appear, you know, as being featured on the song. It was just a really cool song. It's really cool how it's about thrash, and I thought that was really cool how they were bringing someone in to just add to it, almost like give the song more metal street cred, I guess, in a way, to be like, we're so fucking metal, we're getting one of the most metal dudes in German thrash to be on this song. And so that was really cool.
This is a perfect example of what I brought up in the introduction about how the metal and just heavy music world has so much respect for what came before.
Yeah.
Because it's the music that came before, as opposed to where in a lot of other genres, there tends to be this sort of like, that's music for older people. Like, I don't get it. You know, it's out of touch or whatever. Heavy music has such a respect for what came before, because without that, we wouldn't have the blueprint of what these modern bands are doing.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about Traitor extensively in our modern thrash episode. And we love the guys in Traitor. Lawrence, thank you so much for always sharing our stuff. You are fucking awesome, my dude. We've got to have Lawrence on the show at some point. But I just love that they fully embraced the thrash sound. And in doing so, they were like, yeah, this is the next, like, this is a logical step for us to take.
Yeah.
To have a Teutonic thrash legend guest spot on this song with us. Like you said, to add to their heavy metal street cred, or to just say, like, for some of their listeners, maybe, you know, you got to remember that sometimes when you find a band, you're not aware of all of the history that goes on in their genre of music. So they might have even introduced some people to Angelripper.
Yeah.
And that's another, you know, I don't think that there are egos the same way that there are in other genres of music, where like it could have easily been Angelripper featuring Traitor, but no, like he was not like no I get top billing on this song. You know what I mean? Like he's respectful of the fact that someone is even citing him as an influence and being like, yeah, we need you on this fucking song.
Yeah, like you're saying, that's what's so cool. And I hadn't even thought of that because that's happened to me before. It's, as you were talking about it, not that I'm some huge fan, but on Dropkick Murphys' album, The Meanest of Times, they have a cover of a song called Lanigan's Ball, which they call Flanagan's Ball. And they change all the lyrics to, instead of being about Dublin, are about Boston. Mm-hmm. And they feature the vocalist from the band, the Dubliners, in this song. And so it's all the guys from Dropkick Murphys singing, and then you have this raspy old guy singing as well, and all the voices come in for the chorus. And again, it's kind of like I said, there's multiple songs on this album that are like Irish classics, and they changed all the references to Dublin to be about Boston. Mm-hmm. But this song is a fun song, and it's to your point, it's something that introduced me to what is a classic Irish song, and you know, us Americans with European ancestry, we like to try and get some connection to that European ancestry when we can. And as someone who does have Irish ancestry, it's cool to hear like, oh yeah, there's this band, the Dubliners, who had this song that I don't know if they wrote it or if it's just like, something that's culturally passed down, that is
Like
a very
song, yeah.
like a very funny song about a guy who throws a party specifically to show off his new dance moves. And it's such a funny song, and it's so cool that like not only is Dropkick Murphys covering it, but they're having an artist who originally performed it like in the 60s or the 70s singing on this version. So that's another great point you bring up with the song from Traitor, is that if someone is just getting into thrash and hears what's new and what's happening in thrash metal now, and they hear Traitor and they listen to this album and they're like, hey, this guy Angelripper is in this song. It says he's from this band Sodom. Let me listen to them. Oh, they're a German band who writes a song about the Vietnam War. That's pretty fucking cool.
Absolutely. I also love the support within a scene.
Yeah.
Like the support for other bands. And like you were saying before, being able to like bring in up and comers, but also like your peers. Right. And a lot of times you can see people like you can see the groups and like who supports who pretty much when you look into these guest spots. And the next choice that I have is a great example of that. The song A Serpent's Touch by Knocked Loose, featuring Emma Boster of the song Dying Wish. Dying Wish is awesome. They are fucking incredible. They are doing like this Killswitch Engage inspired metalcore, but still like really heavy hardcore roots as well. I know that Emma constantly talks about like when she's writing a line in the song or like a melody in the song, that she's like, what would Howard Jones of Killswitch Engage do? And I love that like now I'm getting to hear people like around my age who were influenced by the same music that I was influenced by and that I grew up with, now calling back to that and being like, right, what would Howard Jones do? Like we need What Would Howard Do t-shirt. But Emma's guest spot on this song literally made me miss my exit on the Southern State. This song is so awesome. I love Knocked Loose. Knocked Loose is doing big things as well, but this is off of their Different Shade of Blue album, I think it's called. So I was unaware of Emma and Dying Wish when I first heard the song, and this was one of those cases where it made me go, oh, who is this? Their voice is fucking killer. Let me go and check out Dying Wish. And now, I just saw them recently opening up for Spirit Box, and then she did a guest spot during Spirit Box's set with Courtney LaPlante, and like, holy shit, getting to see these two front women up on stage together. It was insane. But yes, Emma's guest spot on this song made me miss my exit. I was listening to it, and this was like one of the first times that I was listening to the album as a whole, and I'm driving out to my friend's house for a movie night, and I'm like grooving along to the riffs and stuff. And then Emma's spot comes on, and I'm like, holy shit, this fucking voice. She's so powerful and has such great projection and such a great tone to her voice, and it sounded so commanding that I was like, I was doing one of those things where like when it was done, I was like, who was driving the car for the last 2 minutes? Where am I? I've missed my fucking exit. Now I gotta fucking spin around.
Yep.
So good. So good. So like, just the way I said with Terror is fucking amazing. And like, once I started getting into them, I'm like, holy shit, Scott Vogel's a legend. Emma is a legend in her own right as well. So definitely check out Dying Wish. I love this song. That whole entire album I think is phenomenal. But this is just such a cool example of a band taking their peers out and being like, yeah. I think that Brian Garris of Knocked Loose had done a guest spot on one of Dying Wish's songs.
Oh yeah.
That went uncredited or something. And then she was like, okay, cool, let me return the favor. So I love stuff like that. You know what I mean? Do you have any songs on your list where it was like the one artist from the one band did a guest spot and then they like reciprocated?
I don't know if this guest spot was ever reciprocated, but this is an example of a band that was just kind of up and coming on their own and featured someone else who was also up and coming, I would believe, at the same time. And that's the band Real Big Fish. Okay. And their song, She Has a Girlfriend Now. This is off of their 1996 album, Turn Off the Radio, and features Monique Powell, the lead singer of Save Ferris, who hit it big in 1997 with their cover of Come On Eileen. So it was really cool. I remember my brother got really into Real Big Fish, and Third Wave Ska got me into it, and I've been listening to a lot of it. And then somewhere along the line, I listened to Save Ferris and their cover of Come On Eileen and some of their other stuff. I'm revisiting Real Big Fish, and I'm hearing She Has a Girlfriend Now, and I'm like, wait, I recognize that voice now. Years ago, I didn't recognize the voice. I just loved the song. But now that I knew who it was, I thought it was really cool that she was featured on this song. Because, like I said, Real Big Fish, this was more or less their debut album. So they were just kind of up and coming on their own. Mm-hmm. And then they also had someone else from the scene coming in, especially with a song, the song She Has a Girlfriend Now kind of needs that female vocalist in there as well. Yeah. And it's all about wanting to become a woman so that you can date the woman who is now apparently a lesbian. And so there's a part later in the song where the lead singer, Aaron...
1996, am I right?
Yeah. But there's a part later in the song where Aaron, the lead singer of Real Big Fish, he says the lines, something along the lines of like, I'll shave my legs, I'll wear a bra, I'll even cut my penis off for you. And when they perform it live, he says that line, there's a quick break, the like trombone player on the other side of the stage says something like, wait, you have a penis? And then Aaron is like, yeah, you're standing on it. And then they go into the rest of the song. But yeah, it's such a fun song. And when we were talking about songs that have guest spots, I thought this was a great song to talk about because, like I said, in the world of third wave ska, Real Big Fish was just coming up, and right before Save Ferris came out with their big, song, they had the lead singer Monique Powell on this song. So I thought that was a really cool example of having someone on the song and kind of trying to take the idea of, a rising tide raises all ships, something along those lines. And so I thought that was a really cool example of, a band reaching out to their peers, like you said, and featuring them on one of their songs.
I love that. So Save Ferris did a cover of Come On Eileen, and Real Big Fish did a cover of Take On Me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So was that just like a third wave ska thing where it was like, let's do covers of 80s songs?
I mean, I think that's a third wave ska thing in general of covering literally any song in the style of ska is really fucking funny because Real Big Fish does, me and my brother saw Goldfinger close out their show with 99 Red Balloons. Real Big Fish close out their set with Take On Me. This band, Biebs and Her Moneymaker, their biggest song is a cover of Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball. Suburban Legends are best known for covering Disney songs. They've done Under the Sea. They've done I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Like it's... The thing to do with third wave ska is to cover songs from other genres. So it is very easy to find lots and lots and lots of covers in third wave ska.
That's awesome. So now for something completely different. That is the song Beast by the Acacia Strain featuring Jamey Jasta of Hatebreed. Jasta is a guest spot whore, and I say that with love. Jamey Jasta is a fucking legend. Like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure he was just the lead singer for what they're calling Storm Breeders, which was SOD with Jamey Jasta on lead vocals.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Exactly. So it works. My logic tracks here.
Yep.
But he is, again, such a legend. And he has that particular kind of voice where it's like, if you need a part of your song to sound hyped up and like you're getting the fucking pit ready and you're just stirring shit up, you bring in Jamey Jasta.
Yep.
You know, the line in this song that he kind of starts out with, "My life is a shooting range, people never change." Ugh. So that's the stink face. It's so good. It's so fucking good. And like, I just very, very recently started listening to the Acacia Strain, so I'm super fucking late. I know we're gonna get fucking comments about that, but I heard this song and it's the same thing that you said, which is like, wait a minute, I know this voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of low in the mix until it opens up, but it is just, I love that Jasta always comes in to just rile people up. And I've brought up, like, as a bit of an honorable mention, I've brought up Jamey Jasta guest spotting on Poison Dream by Lamb of God before, and how his segment opens up like this East Coast hardcore sort of bouncing breakdown in that song. You know what I mean? What's the line? "Oh, because you're not a human being, just a fine to be paid." And like the way that just opens shit up and like gets the breakdown started. That's what Jasta is there for.
Yeah.
That's his voice just says that. He has the quintessential screaming, gritty, hardcore voice.
Yes.
Where it's not so much a growl. It's not a growl, almost like a metalcore, harsh type of vocal like Matt Honeycutt of Kublai Khan does. It's more along the lines of like a Scott Vogel. It's that typical screamed vocal.
Yeah.
But so many people that you hear nowadays, I feel, are trying to emulate that Jamey Jasta scream.
Yeah.
So it just he is the Flava Flav of the heavy world.
Yes, he is. Because it's funny, we talk about it, and I know I've talked about this before. I believe it's a call out at the end of the slow part, but one of my favorite things that will always be the thing that Jamey Jasta yelled is in a Hatebreed song where he says, "When I wake up, the real nightmare begins."
Yeah.
And then the song goes into some like crazy fucking heavy riff. But like, yes, he has the perfect like call out voice. Like if you need someone to do that, he's the guy you want to do that because he has the perfect voice for it, because it's this scream that is desperate but hopeful but angsty, but like there's something about it that is so like, because that's such a big part of Hatebreed's songs, is that they're about being positive in the face of adversity.
Right.
And that's what Jamey Jasta's voice gives you, is the feeling of being positive in the face of adversity. And he yells some fucking batshit insane line before the breakdown and spin kick start.
Yeah, I just see me in the background like limbering up. Yeah, that's a great way to put just the desperation but longing for hope. He's holding a hand out for hope. And that's such a good way to put it, because I remember Hatebreed being shat on when I was a teenager, because I was like, oh yeah, hardcore with a smile, fuck that. And like now listening to more hardcore as I've gotten older, I get where I guess back then it could have been somewhat jarring for them to get as big as they had gotten, especially after a song like I Will Be Heard. But it's not to say that all hardcore was negative. A lot of it is. But especially back then. Yeah. But they weren't the only guys trying to sing with a more positive light, or with a more hopeful, with some hope in their message. You know what I mean? So yeah, just as a fucking legend. You gotta love the guy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Chris, what's the next guest spot that you want to highlight?
So we've been talking about hardcore, and I even mentioned being introduced to some New York and Long Island hardcore when I was in high school. And a local band I want to talk about is Losers Sometimes Win. All right. And their song Living Dead, which features hardcore legend Rick to Life. And
Okay.
this is a really cool song. It's a good hardcore song. Losers Sometimes Win, in a similar vein, kind of based on their band name, had that more positive outlook. And so it was really cool to listen to that and hear that. And yeah, it was cool listening to this song on this album that I think was like, I feel like I didn't buy it necessarily. I either got a copy from the DJ I did a radio show with, or I just got a copy from the band, because I know I met the guys in that band and the band Lockdown multiple times.
Okay.
Because we would bring them on, because it's like they were local guys and we were a high school radio station playing this local hardcore music. The other DJ was going to these shows, hanging out with these guys. I think he was invited on stage to sing gang vocals for the band Without Remorse, whose MySpace profile picture was a gun and then buds of marijuana in the shape of WR. And that was their MySpace profile picture. So, yes, that's what was going on there. But back to Losers Sometimes Win. I remember listening to this album and being so excited when I recognized Rick to Life's voice on this song. And I don't think he really gets any verses on his own. He's really just there as like backup gang vocals for the chorus. But we've talked about it on the show. Rick has a very unique vocal style that is more like just spitting out sounds that vaguely resemble words. And so it's just really cool to hear that in the background while the lead singer of Losers Sometimes Win is singing what the actual words are. But it's just a very cool mix of, you know, a local band having who is a, you know, hardcore legend featured on this song. You know, it was just really cool to hear that when, you know, I'm listening to the song. And again, it's the idea, much like with Traitor, gives these guys a little bit more street cred because, you know, they're having someone like Rick to Life from 25 to Life, you know, being featured in this song.
That's a fucking voice you can't miss.
Yeah.
So I can imagine, like, you hear that in the background, it's like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
It's gotta be, though. It's gotta be, right? I remember you introducing me to 25 to Life when we were in school and like doing our radio show, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Oh my, they're unique. They're very, very unique.
Yes.
And for that, we love them.
Yes. Only that.
So the next guest spot that I want to bring up is featuring two female-fronted hardcore bands from Australia. Who knew there were so many? But these are two standout fucking bands, and two bands that I have spoken about at length on this podcast. So that is the song Televise Suicide by Volatile Ways featuring Terminal Sleep. They are both in this category where now I've searched for the post because I'm like, I could not have come up with this term all on my own. I had to have read this somewhere. But I'm nearly positive, 99.9% positive, that someone, either from Terminal Sleep or from Volatile Ways, posted that they are thoughtcore. And I was like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. And like in the sense that it's like they're taking ownership of like being a woman in hardcore music or like in heavy music. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like, and Courtney LaPlante of Spirit Box talks about this a lot, where she's like, you know, what does it feel like being a female fronted band? She's like, I don't like being called female fronted. I prefer to be called male reared. So it's like, it's just fucking perfect, because it should just be like, they are just a band. And yes, it's something that will get them noticed, because just as far as ratios go, there are far more bands with a fully male lineup than there are bands with even just one female member.
Yep.
So it's like celebrating the fact that they are women in this type of music. But the song Televise Suicide has a backstory to it. It's written about the Christine Chubbuck case. So she was a news anchor from the 1980s who actually took her life on air for her local television station, had some mental health issues, and unfortunately took her life on TV. And that is all lost media. Like, the producer at the television station was like, rip the tapes out, destroy the fucking this was at the beginning of if it bleeds, it leads. But he was like, I'm not going to let her be taken advantage of in that way. And now a lot of people put blame on her mental state on the producers and like the heads of the television studio. But at the very least, they tried to do right by her by saying like, we are not going to let this footage get out. This is not something that should be seen. And the song is all about that. Like the state of mind of someone who is like, I am going to change the trajectory of your life. And just, makes that decision. And you've got a really dark subject matter and the music fucking fits. And their voices just go so well together to give this like jarring, what's the fucking term that I keep hearing now? Oh, cinder blocks against each other. Like cinder blocks being rubbed against one another, type of sound. And it's true. It's like, it's very fitting for the subject matter. If you're going to go to the lengths of writing a song about this topic, the music better fucking bring it. And boy, howdy does it. Like both bands, Volatile Ways, Terminal Sleep. If you haven't fucking listened to them, you gotta go out and listen to them. Forget the fact that they're female fronted. Forget the fact that they're male reared. Just listen to the music. And I love that, again, it is peers coming together to lift one another up. You know what I mean? Like, it's what this style of music is all about. It's what the whole entire world of heavy music is about, is people trying to lift one another up. If you fall in the pit, I'm going to fucking pick you up, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to spin kick you in the face in 2 seconds. There's a line and there's an etiquette that everyone understands. Yeah. And if you're there to take part, you get it. But there is that attitude of like, we are all coming up together and we're here to support one another. We're not in competition. And you see a lot more of that nowadays, which is why you have so many guest spots in this type of music. You know what I mean? I feel like so many more bands are like, hey, if I'm coming up, I'm bringing you guys with me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what's the line? If I have a job, you have a job. If I have a job, you have a job. And like, I love that sentiment. I love that sentiment of like, if I am coming up, I'm bringing you all with me, because I feel like these bands have more respect for the work that everyone is putting in, and they understand that it's like your success does not downplay my success, and vice versa. So let's just fucking bring each other up. And that's so cool. That's why when you go to these shows, especially when you see these bands performing live and they do have someone guest with them, it's electrifying to see that support, and it's just the whole entire venue feels it. Yeah. Whether it's a fucking, whether you're seeing a band at the Garden or you're in a shitty little fucking club, above Western Beef in the city or something like that. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. I love it so much. And I'm glad that we have so many examples where it's like peers helping one another out,
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're saying, it's great when you see that. It's great when you see the peers that are like, hey, we're coming up together, or maybe even have already found lots of success, but let's celebrate that success. Because one of the it's hard to call it a guest spot, but it was at a live show, was the Big Four at Yankee Stadium. What they were doing at every show was at some point they were bringing out most of the bands. I know Tom Araya and Kerry King were not usually out there on stage during these gatherings. And when Jeff Hanneman was there, he didn't necessarily go out, but Jeff Hanneman wasn't really able to play with the band at the time. But when I went to see the Big Four at Yankee Stadium, all the bands, except for, like I said, Tom and Kerry, were on stage to play Overkill by Motorhead. And what was really cool about the performance was that obviously there's only the one drum set out because it was during Metallica's set. So there was just Lars's kit out there. But what's cool about a song like Overkill is that at the end, you have these breaks before the solo continues. And so during those breaks, the drummers would swap out. And so, cool. Charlie jumped in on Lars's kit. The drummer, I don't know who it was from Megadeth at the time, jumped in. But something that's really funny is that when Dave Lombardo jumps in, he beats the shit out of his drums. And when he starts drumming, it is significantly louder than the other three drummers. And what was also really cool during this was that Gary Holt was filling in for Jeff. So he was out on stage, and him and Kirk Hammett have that connection. Kirk Hammett was in Exodus. Gary Holt still, leading Exodus. They traded guitars on stage. And so, awesome. Gary Holt is playing that Frankenstein guitar. I think Kirk was playing the one that was painted with Gary Holt's blood. So, they traded those guitars on stage, and it was really cool to just, see them having fun, playing this great song. And so that was, something that I thought was really cool to see. And I feel like another example of that really got the crowd going was Chuck D showing up with Anthrax on Coney Island. Obviously they are.
Oh my God, yes.
They are covering a Public Enemy song, so it's hard to call either one of them a guest on the song. But Chuck D coming out, we said that got the loudest reaction that night. And I think a part of that is because, like myself, I think a lot of us Anthrax fans know that Chuck D does show up for the LA shows because they all live in LA. So it makes sense that he shows up for the LA shows. We were all hoping something would happen for the 40th anniversary show, which is technically a hometown show. These guys are from New York, mostly from Queens, Joey from upstate, but they're a New York band playing in New York. You knew something was going to happen. Last time I saw Anthrax in New York and something happened, they played a new song that was on their not yet released album. So I was thinking maybe it'd be the same thing. And when Scott Ian started talking about summoning Chuck D, I got so excited. The crowd got so excited. Yeah. He jumped out and was he was jumping across the stage. It was so incredible to watch. And I know Chuck D has said, I've seen in interviews, I think on their 40th anniversary special, where Chuck D is he gets excited when the guys from Anthrax call him up and are like, hey, we're playing. We want you to come out on stage to do Bring the Noise with us. And he gets excited about it because it's, I think there's still that part of him that's just as excited as he was all those years ago when he realized Anthrax was taking it seriously. He saw in the magazines Scott Ian wearing a Public Enemy t-shirt. So he calls them out in the original version of Bring the Noise. And when Scott and Charlie and Frankie buy the new album and hear their band, who's not a huge band at the time, this is 1988. They're just kind of working their way up. And they hear themselves name dropped in a Public Enemy song. They're like, we need to cover this fucking song, and we need Chuck and Flav on the song. So I feel like there's still that excitement among the band and among Chuck to, still perform that song together. And so I feel like that's what also makes exciting is that these bands have found success already and they're still getting excited to show up for each other. And I think that's what was cool about the Big Four. I feel like, I don't remember who it was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kerry King who made the comment, but most of the time Metallica was doing Am I Evil, originally by Blitz. I think that's by Blitzkrieg. And Kerry King is like, yeah, that's great that Metallica likes that song. That didn't influence me.
Yeah.
So why would I want to be a part of it? And that sounds like something Kerry King would say. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was him, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it was anyone else. That was just kind of okay, maybe that's why they played Motorhead instead at the Big Four at Yankee Stadium, because maybe more bands were like, hey, Blitzkrieg is cool and all, Motorhead is way better. or, more of us like Motorhead. But either way, it was just very cool to see, 20 musicians up on stage playing this song and for the most part appearing to have fun at Yankee Stadium playing this song.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kerry King, one of the first guest spots that came to mind was Kerry King's solo in Goddamn Electric by Pantera. Now, I know I was just talking a little bit of shit about Kerry King, but I often find myself defending Slayer and defending Kerry King, but I cannot defend this solo. It is like the worst of like the worst. Like, it sounds like someone doing a parody of a Kerry King solo. It's awful, which is so annoying because the rest of the song fucking rules.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then Kerry King has to come in and play this terrible fucking solo that apparently he recorded like in a hotel room, and Phil like stopped him from recording it again because he apparently Phil liked the way it sounded on the first take. But yeah,
thanks.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks a lot. But thinking about Kerry King and that guest spot, I started thinking about some of his other guest spots. No Sleep Till Brooklyn with the Beastie Boys, which I believe was Rick Rubin just kind of like, hey, Kerry, you're going to play on this song for this other band that I'm producing right now. And Kerry's like, all right, whatever. And similarly, Kerry King appears in the Sum 41 song, It's What We're All About, the version that's featured on the Spider-Man soundtrack, because there is an original version featured on their Half Hour of Power EP. And for Sum 41, I feel like this is very much a case of getting to work with someone they idolize. The music might not always represent it, but it's clear that the guys in Sum 41 love metal, love thrash metal, love that heavy metal stuff. And so having Kerry King get to perform a much better solo than in Goddamn Electric on this song is really cool. It was really cool to see him perform, and I feel like I hadn't yet been introduced to Slayer when I saw the music video for this song. Okay. So all I'm seeing is a dude with a tattoo going from his head to his fingertips with a fucking pointy-ass BC Rich guitar and chains hanging from his belt, and then he just rips into this solo on a Sum 41 song. And so that was kind of my introduction to Kerry King without realizing it was Kerry King from Slayer. Mm-hmm. But like I said, Kerry King showing up in, all these different songs was one of the first things that came to mind when we talked about guest spots. So I wanted to make sure I talked about them. Good, bad, or anywhere in between, I knew I had to talk about Kerry King, especially on this Sum 41 song.
All right, Chris, I am so happy that we got to go down the rabbit hole of guest spots on some of our favorite songs. Have you got one more for us?
I absolutely have one more. My suggestion for this week is Garbage and their cover of Because the Night, originally by Patti Smith, written by Bruce Springsteen, and features Marissa of Screaming Females.
Yeah.
I love this song anyway, and so seeing that Marissa from Screaming Females, who I absolutely love, was on this cover, I knew I had to listen to it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was originally performed by Patti Smith, but Bruce Springsteen wrote it. I believe the story goes he wrote it, but didn't feel like it was a song he should sing. So he gave it to Patti, who was recording in like the same studio or something, and that's why she performed it. But I'm pretty sure I've seen Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band performed this song live, because I already knew this song and I was already a fan of this song. And like I said, I'm definitely a bigger fan of the guest in this situation, that being Screaming Females, but I do like some of the music from Garbage, and I was so happy when I saw this cover and that these two bands came together and played this song. So that's why my suggestion is Garbage featuring Screaming Females and their cover of Because the Night.
That's awesome. I love that cover. I remember when you first brought Screaming Females up, and I was like, all right, I got to check this band out. And that was one of the ones that I'd heard, and I texted you immediately. I'm like, dude, this version's incredible.
Yep.
So for my suggestion, I want to just first do an honorable mention of the song Cannibal by Kublai Khan featuring Dave Peters of Throwdown. First time I heard Throwdown was for their cover of Baby Got Back. That was not Dave on that. But it just I love his voice. He's another one where it's like he's a legend, and once you hear his voice, it's just instantly recognizable. But when it comes to recognizable voices, I don't think anyone tops Chester Bennington of Linkin Park, the late great Chester Bennington.
Yes.
And his guest spot on the song Cross Off by Mark Morton off of his solo album is incredible. This is like a straight ahead hard rock song, and his voice just fits so well with the riffs that Mark is laying down in this song, and he throws in so much melody, and just the way that he's able to weave a melodic vocal line in between these crazy riffs is what made Chester so unique and so amazing. And like we say time and time again, despite who's left us far too soon, we still have these songs to go back to be able to appreciate them. So definitely check out Mark Morton's solo album first off, but definitely check out the song Cross Off featuring Chester Bennington of Linkin Park. Chris, do you want a guest spot on this outro with me? Thanks for tuning into the Scrap Metal Podcast. The time has come for us to pack up our gear, but we'll be back to rock out with you in the next episode.
Stay metal, everyone.
Good night.
If there wouldn't be an incredible delay, it would be hilarious to do like a Beastie Boys version of the outro. Like, thanks for tuning into the Scrap Metal Podcast. Time is up.
Time has come
to pack up our gear.
But we'll be back to rock
out
with you in the
next one.
I'll make it happen. We'll do it in post.
Oh, boy.
And cut.